Did you know Maine has a massive whirlpool that can swallow entire boats? Or that it's home to a famous desert that isn't a desert at all? How about abandoned steam locomotives hidden deep in the woods, miles from the nearest road and rotting away? Maine is more than just lighthouses and lobster rolls. It's a place of strange geography, defiant history, and truly bizarre facts. Buckle up. We're going to hit you with 50 of the strangest facts about Maine you probably never knew. Fact 50. The most forested state. Maine is often called the Pine Tree State for a reason. It's the most forested state in America, with close to 9 out of every 10 acres covered in trees. That's about 17.6 million acres of spruce, fir, birch, and maple. This massive working forest economy creates endless habitat for moose, black bear, and lynx. In fact, if you're not in a town, you're probably standing in a forest. Fact 49. A county bigger than 2 states. Get ready for some staggering scale. Maine's largest county, Aroostook County, locals just call it the county, is so large it's bigger than the combined size of Connecticut and Rhode Island. It covers over 6,800 square miles, borders Canada for more than 100 miles, and its vast potato fields, timberlands, and endless logging roads look like another country entirely. You could drive for hours and never leave its borders. Fact 48. The only one-syllable state. Say it out loud. Maine. It's the only one-syllable U.S. state name. It's a short name for a state with a big, complicated personality. Fact 47. The state that borders one state. Maine is the only U.S. state that borders exactly one other state, New Hampshire. Every other line of its border is either the Atlantic coastline or Canada, specifically the Canadian provinces of New Brunswick and Quebec. This unique isolation has profoundly shaped Maine's culture, trade, and even its politics. Fact 46. Where America wakes up. At West Quoddy Head in Lubec, you'll find the easternmost point in the contiguous United States. Because of this, depending on the time of year and minor variations in terrain, nearby Mars Hill or the summit of Cadillac Mountain in Acadia National Park also catch the first rays of sunrise in the lower 48. If you want to be the first American to see the sun, you have to be in Maine. Fact 45. Old Sow, the giant whirlpool. Near Eastport, where the massive Bay of Fundy tides crash into Maine's Narrows, a marine monster roars to life. It's called Old Sow, and it's the largest tidal whirlpool in the Western Hemisphere. On the right tide, you can actually watch the sea twist into standing waves, violent eddies, and a funnel-shaped vortex that can be seen from miles away. It's beautiful and absolutely terrifying. Fact 44. Some of the world's biggest tides. The nearby Bay of Fundy is famous for its 50-foot tides in Canada, but Maine gets a huge taste of its tidal power. In places like Cobscook Bay, the tide can swing over 20 feet, emptying coves like bathtubs and refilling them with a powerful, thunderous rush. This extreme tidal energy has made places like Eastport consider harnessing it for electricity. Fact 43. The desert that isn't. Welcome to the desert of Maine and Freeport, a 40-acre expanse of pale, tan sand dunes. But it's not a true desert created by drought. It was created by glacial outwash combined with incredibly poor 19th century farming that stripped away the fertile topsoil. Today, it's a weirdly beautiful attraction that looks like the Sahara, but is actually a bizarre geological lesson with a gift shop. Fact 42. The LL Bean that never sleeps. Speaking of Freeport, the LL Bean flagship store is famously open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. They have no locks on the doors. This retail lighthouse sits in a town known for actual lighthouses, symbolizing the Mainer spirit of always being ready for an adventure. Fact 41. A lighthouse superpower. With its rock ledges and persistent fog, Maine packs in roughly 65 historic lighthouses. They range from the iconic Portland Headlight, commissioned in 1791, to remote rock sentinels like Matinicus Rock. This density of lights was demanded by the treacherous conditions and heavy ship traffic, and the stunning scenery they provide makes you glad they're still standing. Fact 40. Eastern Egg Rock's Puffin Comeback. By the early 1900s, the beautiful Atlantic puffins had completely disappeared from Maine's southern islands due to overhunting. Thanks to a dedicated conservation effort called Project Puffin, birds were reintroduced to Eastern Egg Rock. Today, summer boat tours can spot these comical birds bobbing in the surf like little footballs with multicolored beaks. A true conservation success story. Fact 39. A disputed island with 2 flags. Machias Seal Island sits off Maine's bold coast. It's guarded by a Canadian lighthouse and is claimed by both the US and Canada. The keepers are Canadian, and the only other permanent residents are thousands of puffins, terns, and razorbills, who definitely don't care about the border. It's one of North America's friendliest maritime disputes. Fact 38. Lobster legends and blues. Maine is the lobster capital of the US, hauling in tens of millions of pounds every year. But every so often, a truly rare sight appears, a blue lobster. These are caused by a genetic mutation with odds of around 1 in 2 million. Even rarer are the bright yellow or the truly cotton candy colored lobsters. Finding one is a moment of pure, strange luck. Fact 37. The state drink with a cult. Maine's official soft drink is Moxie, a bittersweet, gentian root soda with a dedicated, nearly religious fan club and many, many skeptics. It's certainly not for everyone. Mainer lore says you either love it or you hate it, and a true Mainer has to try it at least once. Fact 36. Whoopie, the state treat. The whoopie pie, 2 discs of chocolate cake with a fluffy, sugary cream filling, is Maine's official state treat. Pennsylvania might argue about where it was invented, but in Maine, the debate ends when the plate arrives. It's the perfect blend of simple and indulgent. Fact 35. The globe you can walk inside. In Yarmouth, the Delorme, now Garmin campus houses Eartha, the world's largest rotating globe. It's a 41-foot diameter, 1 to 1 million scale Earth that slowly turns while you walk the continents below. It's a stunning, massive, and highly accurate piece of geography you can explore from the inside. Fact 34. Granite that built America. Maine granite is the stone that helped build many American icons, the Brooklyn Bridge Towers, Boston's Custom House, and countless 19th century courthouses. Quarries on Vinyl Haven, Deer Isle, and Hallowell ship durable, beautiful stone that still holds up some of the country's biggest cities. Maine rock is literally foundational to the US. Fact 33. The abandoned ghost trains. Deep in the remote North Maine woods, 2 massive rusting steam locomotives sit in the forest. They were left behind in the 1930s after the Eagle Lake and West Branch Railroad shut down. The locomotives were simply too heavy and too far to haul out, so the forest slowly grew around them. It's a surreal post-apocalyptic site miles from any paved road. Fact 32. A wilderness waterway with a ferry. The Allagash Wilderness Waterway is 92 miles of pristine lakes and rivers and a signature canoe trip. Further south, the Appalachian Trail crosses the powerful Kennebec River, where an official canoe ferry operates to take hikers across. The current here is no joke, and the ferry is a quirky but critical piece of trail logistics. Fact 31. The 100-mile wilderness. The final legendary approach to Mount Katahdin, the northern terminus of the Appalachian Trail, crosses Maine's infamous 100-mile wilderness. There are no towns, no paved roads, and no places to resupply for an entire week of hiking. It's just spruce, bog bridges, and the vast, humbling silence of the North Woods. Fact 30. Katahdin, the Great Mountain. At 5,269 feet, Katahdin isn't the tallest mountain in the east, but it certainly feels like it. Its massive raw granite peak is home to spectacular and terrifying knife-edge ridges and a relentless wind. For thru hikers, it's the final, emotional summit, symbolizing the end of a 2,200-mile journey. Fact 29. Moose everywhere. Maine has the largest moose population in the lower 48. Estimates put the number in the tens of thousands. In the fall, you can hear bulls clacking antlers and grunting across the bogs. If you're driving in the North Woods, be extremely careful. A moose's body sits at the exact height of a car windshield. Fact 28. A coastline that cheats the map. Maine's coast is a crazy maze of coves, peninsulas, and thousands of islands. Drawn straight, it's only about 230 miles, but if you measure every tiny inlet, nook and cranny, you get thousands of miles of shoreline, a phenomenon known as the coastline paradox. It's why Maine feels so massive and so endless. Fact 27. The Bold Coast. Down east, the shoreline from Cutler to Lubec is known as the Bold Coast. Here, sheer cliffs drop into the thunderous Atlantic surf. With its fog, rugged spruce forests, and dramatic headlands, the landscape feels more like Scotland than a typical beach vacation. Fact 26. The only national park in New England. Acadia National Park is New England's only full-fledged national park. It protects iconic features like the granite dome of Cadillac Mountain, the scenic Park Loop Road, and waves smashing into the shoreline at Schoodic Point. It's where ancient rock meets the wild ocean like nowhere else in the Northeast. Fact 25. When the ocean glows. On warm summer nights, if you find yourself paddling in sheltered Maine waters, you can witness bioluminescence, phytoplankton that flash neon blue when disturbed. Every kayak stroke, every splashing hand, ignites a brilliant constellation under your bow, making you feel like you're paddling through the Milky Way. Fact 24. Ice Disk of Westbrook. In early 2019, the Persumscot River in downtown Westbrook formed a massive, rotating ice disk the size of a city block. It spun slowly and majestically like a lazy galaxy for weeks, drawing crowds, scientists, and international media attention. It was a bizarre, one-time natural phenomenon. Fact 23. A river that once reeked. The Androscoggin River was once a national symbol of pollution, famous for its foul odor, massive foam deposits, and dead fish. However, decades of work, including Clean Water Act enforcement and mill upgrades, successfully turned it around. Today, it's a fisherman's and paddler's river again, a quiet testament to environmental persistence. Fact 22. Blueberries by the Barrens. Maine grows the vast majority of America's wild, low-bush blueberries, primarily on large, acidic glacial barrens in Washington and Hancock counties. These tiny, tart, and explosively flavorful berries are the way blueberries tasted before they were commercially farmed. They're a true northern delicacy. Fact 21. Potato capital of the East. Up in Aroostook County, potato fields roll to the horizon. The late summer and fall harvest brings truck convoys and the distinct, crisp smell of starch on the cold air. The locals even celebrate the harvest with a massive potato blossom festival. Yeah, that's a real thing, and yes, it's charming. Fact 20. The reversing falls that aren't falls. At places like Pembroke and West Pembroke, the powerful tide surges create reversing falls, rapids that run one way, pause for the tide to turn, and then reverse and run upstream as the tide floods in. You can literally watch the river change direction right before your eyes, all thanks to the Bay of Fundy. Fact 19. A town split by a line. Estcourt Station is a tiny remote hamlet at Maine's northern tip where the border zigzags through people's yards and houses. Some residents have to drive into Canada just to reach the rest of Maine without taking hours of logging roads. It's one of the most uniquely isolated and strange border communities in the country. Fact 18. The Coldwater Coral Frontier. Far offshore in the deep, dark canyons of the Gulf of Maine, scientists have found thriving communities of deep-water corals. These are not tropical reefs, but slow-growing, ancient cold-water communities that need protection just as much as their shallow-water cousins. It's a completely alien world right off Maine's coast. Fact 17. Shipwreck Alley. The combination of dense winter fog, relentless storms, and jagged rock ledges gave Maine a brutal maritime history. Hundreds of shipwrecks litter the coast. Museum plaques and coastline legends keep their tragic and heroic stories alive for those who walk the beaches. Fact 16. A city that burned twice. The city of Portland burned once during the Revolutionary War in 1775 and again in 1866 in one of the worst urban fires in U.S. history. The disaster was so complete that the city was rebuilt almost from scratch. The phoenix on the city seal isn't just poetic fluff. It's a brutally literal symbol of a city rising from its own ashes. Fact 15. The first ship of the English New World. In 1607 and 1608, settlers at the Popham Colony, near today's Phippsburg, built the Virginia, the first ocean-going ship constructed by the English in the New World. Plymouth gets most of the colonial glory, but Popham gets the important shipwright points for this incredible feat of early American engineering. Fact 14. The island of granite and lobsters. The large island of Vinyl Haven was once a powerhouse for the granite industry and remains a major lobster hub. Today, ferries carry granite dust, artists and fishermen side by side, passing massive seals basking on ledges like whiskered speed bumps. It's a perfect microcosm of Maine's conflicting industries. Fact 13. The coast that rings. When winter storms hammer Thunder Hole in Acadia, compressed surf booms from a rocky, cavernous throat, creating an unbelievable sound. Stand back when the tide is high, the conditions are right, and the timing is perfect, because the spray will drench you to the socks. Fact 12. The day the sea smoked. On truly Arctic mornings, Maine's ocean steams and billows in a phenomenon called sea smoke. This happens as brutally frigid air passes over warmer surface water. It creates a surreal, unsettling fog that makes the Atlantic look like it's boiling, a dramatic physics lesson played out on the coast. Fact 11. A lighthouse older than the U.S. Constitution. Portland headlight, famously commissioned by George Washington, was first lit in 1791. The U.S. Constitution was not officially ratified until 1788, making the lighthouse barely younger than the document that created the nation itself. If it looks like a painting, that's because artists have been painting it for centuries. Fact 10. A city built on oysters. Inlets like the Damariscotta River hold ancient shell middens, massive piles of oyster shells left by indigenous people thousands of years ago. Some of the mounds are stories high. They're prehistoric seafood leftovers that have rewritten the archaeology of the entire region. Fact 9. The oldest wooden fort on the US-Canada border. Fort Kent, a sturdy blockhouse built during the Aroostook War era, still stands watch on the St. John River. The war produced no actual battles, but plenty of pointed diplomacy over vital timber rights. The fort serves as a lasting reminder of a near conflict that was resolved with smart words, not bullets. Fact 8. The Great Ice Harvest. Before modern refrigeration, Maine was a key player in the ice harvest. Workers cut lake ice by the thousands of tons, shipping massive blocks to Boston, New York, and even the Caribbean. In some old coastal barns, you can still see the enormous ice tongs used to lift and transport this valuable frozen cargo. Fact 7. The Gulf that's warming too fast. The Gulf of Maine is currently one of the fastest warming ocean regions on Earth. This rapid change is causing lobster migration shifts, the appearance of new species, and massive changes to commercial fisheries. Maine's coastal towns are living on the front line of climate change. Fact 6. A city that glitters at low tide. At extreme low tides around Bar Harbor, a natural sand and gravel bar appears that you can walk across to Bar Island. This temporary bridge vanishes quickly. Miss the return window and you'll get a wet, cold lesson in the awesome power of the Maine tide. Fact 5. The road that vanishes. Near Bailey Island, the famous Cribstone Bridge is built of stacked granite slabs with open gaps between them. It's the only one of its kind in the world, designed specifically to let the powerful tides flow through the structure so massive storms don't rip it apart. Fact 4. The town that smells like the ocean. Literally. The towns of Rockland and Prospect Harbor were once key locations for the menhaden rendering industry, processing small fish into oil and meal. On processing days, the distinct pungent odor could carry for miles. Locals used to joke that you could literally smell the payroll on the sea breeze. Fact 3. A park built by a philanthropist on a bicycle. John D. Rockefeller Jr. personally designed Acadia's famous carriage roads for horses and bicycles. No cars were allowed. He outfitted them with magnificent granite bridges and woodland vistas. Today, these 50 miles of trails remain the park's quiet, essential arteries. Fact 2. The island you can only reach by mailboat. Dozens of Maine islands, from Monhegan to Islahote, rely on the U.S. mailboat and lobster boats for all their supplies. On a winter run to places like Frenchboro or Islesford, you'll meet everyone in the community, because there's literally only one boat to rely on. Fact 1. The coast that's still being discovered. Every nor'easter storm redraws a beach. Every fog bank hides a seal rookery. Every tide reveals another tide pool galaxy. In Maine, the map is never finished, and the list of strange facts is always growing. And that's the strangest, most enduring fact of all. From whirlpools that twist the ocean, to ghost trains rotting in the woods, puffins returning to rock islands, and a pink desert in the heart of vacation land, Maine is where the strange and the beautiful share a truly unique shoreline. If this video gave you a fresh look at the Pine Tree State, please hit subscribe, smash that like button, and drop your favorite Maine oddity in the comments. We'll see you next time.